Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you'll meet a man who's been very successful in the distribution fabrication industry, and now he's sharing his wisdom with the next generation of entrepreneurs. His incredible journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, this is a television network, so the studio lights are always very bright, but I was walking down the hallway the other day and the lights were just radiant, and I realized it was because of the guest who was walking down the hall, Wayne Gono, $1 million smile. Thank you for coming on the show.
You betcha. After hearing that, definitely my pleasure.
Well, I always get compliments on my smile. I'm just a smiling fool. I love to do it. And when I meet a fellow smiler, it took about a nanosecond for us to like each other, didn't we?
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
less than that, I think.
Well, thank you. And your smile comes from your heart. So we're going to talk about your entrepreneurial journey in a second, but I want to give you a chance to talk about why are you so happy?
Yeah, that's really easy. Every morning I have this time with Jesus, and he just fills me with so much joy in my study as I get into his word, as I understand his character and me wanting to be an image of him in my world. It just is easy to take that joy out. So I start my day there, and that just carries me all the way through till my head hits the pillow in the evening. And then the next day I do it all over again. That's pretty much how.
I know, I love that, and it shows. And we hadn't had a chance to talk about your faith, but something just told me that you're radiating the Spirit all 24/7.
Well, thanks for noticing that.
Absolutely. So Wayne has been very successful in his career, and now he's giving back through Biz Owners Ed, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But there was a wonderful piece done about your company a decade ago.
Yes, sir.
And so some things have obviously changed and grown since then, but it was a beautiful overview piece. So let's go ahead and roll that now.
This table, that picture, this light, these decorations, all made out of plastic by this company, Regal Plastics. This ribbon cutting marks the grand opening of Regal Plastics' new corporate headquarters here in Irving. Like many business people in the area, I tagged along to see what they have to offer customers and the city of Irving.
We're a plastic sheet rod and tube distributor, and then we do a lot of manufacturing out of the plastic sheet rod and tube. And that's where the business gets really exciting, because you get to take just plain old flat sheets and you get to turn it into cool stuff like this.
Plastic is extremely diversified. There's not an industry that doesn't use it. Owner Wayne Gono says the company has the chance to work with every type of business, doing a wide variety of handcrafted projects.
Everything we do here is by hand. We don't have, it's like I call it a wood shop for plastic. Difference is you can't, if you screw up, you can't stain it, fill it, and redo it. You'd have to trash it and throw it away. So if they took this piece right here, they would have to completely redo it if they messed it up. So you get one shot. And our craftsmen are just unbelievable because they've been doing it for so many years, they're just good at what they do.
One of the biggest differences in the move from Dallas to Irving is the quality of the work environment.
I can assure you, just from the people that walk in that door, I mean, they'll walk in right there, no one coming from our old place, they'll walk in and they'll stop on that mat and they're like, whoa. I mean, they're just shocked, absolutely shocked at how cool all this looks.
Regal Plastics is a family-owned company. They make everything from plaques and display cases to greenhouses and furniture. They say their grand opening here in Irving is more than just a new location for their business. It's a new home.
This was our dream area, the Freeport, Lost Clean areas where Patsy and I, that's my wife, where we wanted to move the business to.
Being close to the airport and just this whole area is just so nice. We love the neighborhood. It is, I mean, a lot of our employees, including myself, we get out and we'll walk at lunchtime. The area is just so nice. We feel so safe.
Wayne and Patricia say that Irving picked them just as much as they picked Irving.
Well, as soon as we found it and purchased it, the city of Irving and the chamber was unbelievable. We've got buildings and businesses in 5 cities: Austin, San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth. No city or chamber has been like the Irving City and Chamber have been. I mean, they were progressive. They were engaged with me immediately.
For the Gonos, Regal Plastics is a family affair. Wayne and Patricia have worked at the company together for 35 years.
We were high school sweethearts, and so we've been together for a long time. And so we've kind of grown up together, and we've been in business for so long together, it just seems really natural.
Patricia's father, Don Walker, started the business in 1970. It became a legacy for his family as he turned it over to Wayne and Patricia in 1996.
We were the last of the legacy because our children were no more interested in this business to the man in the moon until this year. So now that the legacy goes to a 3rd generation.
It's really neat to see the 3rd generation here coming up, and just a lot of hope for the future.
When asked how they felt about the grand opening, the Gonos couldn't help but think of the man that started it all.
Oh, proud. The only tough part I think about celebrating is I wish Dad was still here to be able to see this, because he would just be totally ecstatic.
A real sense of appreciation for the people that work for us, and a real sense of also appreciation for my dad that started the business.
The Gonos add not only their business to the city, but also their rich family legacy, neither of which will be leaving the area anytime soon.
This has been the best thing we've done in the 43-year history of our company, I think. I can't wait for it to just be 10 years from now when we've grown into another building. And it'll happen in Irving. I'm not moving out of Irving.
Wow. Well, the first thing I want to call your attention to, Wayne got emotional watching that. It's not something like you watch this all the time. You haven't seen that in probably a decade.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's weird that I get emotional watching that. Thinking about Dad and all that. Yeah. Way to go, Jeff.
So,
give me my. Oh,
I should have brought some Kleenex. So, one, I wanted you to give us an update in the last 10 years. Obviously, you've grown. You've now passed the torch on to your son and daughter.
Yes.
Speak about that, please.
Oh man, it's a much longer story than I've got time to tell here, but. They came into the business, I think, in about 2011 or 2. Let me look at my notes here. Yeah, Amy came into the business in 12, and Chad came into the business in 2013, and they have totally revolutionized who we are as a company. It's just been fascinating to Patsy and I to sit back, because we're on the board now. I have nothing to do with the day-to-day, so I don't even have an office. In 2020, my daughter calls me up and says, Dad, by the end of this month, we need you out of your office because we need the space. I'm like, okay, now I don't have an office and I don't have day-to-day responsibilities. What am I going to do? Patsy still goes in every day. I think she likes going in, but she more does our commercial properties. She doesn't manage them, but she does the books for them, and that's a full-time job in itself. But I think the biggest thing she likes going to the office, she pretty much gets to have lunch with her daughter Amy every day.
Well, you have to be so tremendously proud that your children have kind of taken your vision and built on it.
Yes, the 2 of them have built teams and have done things with the company in the last 4 and 5 years that Patsy and I really didn't have the ability to do. We weren't social media experts. We just couldn't have done what they did.
Yes.
There's no way. So they just really took it to a whole nother level that I think was impossible for us to do.
Well, and you were telling me before the show that it's extremely rare for the 2nd generation, and it's even tougher for the 3rd generation to be successful. Speak about that.
Well, I have talked to audiences and other companies about generational businesses, but I'm no expert. But from 1st to 2nd, it's less than 30% will make it from 1st to 2nd generation. Less than 12 will go from 2nd to 3rd, and less than 5 will make it 3rd to 4th generation. So what we're experiencing and what you're experiencing now in your own company is rare. But it doesn't happen in our country. Now, Europe's totally different. You'll see 15, 16, 17 generations of businesses in Europe that build, but In America, it just doesn't happen. They get destroyed for all kinds of different reasons or sold.
Yes. I want to pull up a page off of Wayne's website, which shows some of the kinds of fabrication work that they do. And one of the things I want you to talk about is excellence. You kind of mentioned it in that piece that you really can't mess up. You got to destroy the product if you mess up. Where does this excellence gene come from?
You know, I'd love to say, well, it's really training, because a lot of our fabricators, well, today haven't. It's because so many has shifted. Because I'm a baby boomer. Our company now is more full of millennials all the way down to Gen Zs. So it's completely different. Our staffing today is totally different than because of generations. It's just everything. Boy, is it different.
But do your employees see themselves as craftsmen, right?
The ones that do the fabricating, yes, sir. Because we have a separate company called Clear Modern, and we just do high-end furniture that pulls through architects, designers, and we create whatever our customer wants now. So we don't have anything on a shelf, we just create things. They bring us a design and we make it. And that business just launched, I think the first of this year, and it's done tremendous just in its first year.
And you have employees that have been with you for decades, don't you?
Well, not as many as we used to, because all the baby boomers have retired.
Yes.
And now our children have brought on a whole completely new staff of millennials to Zs.
Wow.
And quite frankly, as much as I love baby boomers, because I are one, it's so exciting to be around the younger workforce that are really driven and really good at what they do, and they have helped change the culture of our company just by their youth and the fact that my daughter and son are so great at leading this team, and they just put together some remarkable young people. Most of them, God, top leadership probably aren't around 30. And it's 120 people that work with us now.
That's amazing.
It is. They're just fun.
So Wayne mentioned company culture, and I think sometimes somebody's Facebook page tells volumes about their culture. So let's pull up the Facebook photo album from the company. And as you scroll down there, I noticed that it's not just Wayne with the big smile. You have attracted a very positive group of people, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah, we have. Definitely, lots of them. Now that's from 10 years ago. So a lot of those people you see in those pictures, Jeff, were the baby boomers.
Yes.
That there may be maybe 3 or 4 left, not counting us, that stuck around when we transferred into leadership from second to third. And so most everybody today is way younger than what's in those pictures there. So I'm looking at these pictures like, whoa, man. It's a completely different culture, completely different scene. Everything's different about our company.
Okay, so let's talk about how you keep great company culture. What is it that your son and daughter are doing to manifest a positive place to go?
Culture, in my mind, just sitting back and watching what they're doing. It's a matter of the heart. Culture can't be just a sign up on the board that says, well, this is our culture. You have to live it, breathe it, and it has to be so ingrained in you as the leadership that it just oozes into everybody else. And that's what they've done. They have created a culture that everybody buys into, and you have to, it's not about performance. It's all about the heart of the people we hire.
Yes.
My son says, we don't hire a resume. We hire attitude and heart, that's it. And I just find that fascinating, because you always get resumes, you pour over these resumes and you'd look at that, okay, let's interview him. No, now it's just about attitude. If we had forever to talk, I could go way deep in how it's turned around like this. But it is so fun to see it from the outside looking in.
Yes.
Very fun.
Well, something that Wayne is very passionate about is giving back to the next generation. And so we're going to pull up Biz Owners Ed website so we can bridge this into this part of your life. And this has to be one of the most satisfying parts of your life.
Very much so.
Is that you can take all your wisdom from decades of entrepreneurship and pass that along. Tell us about Biz Owners Ed.
I was in a conference last week, and I heard Joe Theismann speak, and he asked everybody in the audience to try and figure out, what is your definition of success? So he did that for a few seconds, and he said his idea of success is when you reach the point where all you're doing is giving back. And I've been preaching giving back. It's what we should do for the longest time, because it's just, it's just so important. You've reached a point to where you say, you know what, I'm here, now I want to help others get to where we are. And it's just more fun. I found more fun pouring into other businesses and helping them get control of what they're doing and helping it grow than it was doing our own company.
Really?
Yeah, oh gosh. It's invigorating to sit down with young entrepreneurs or even middle-aged ones and we're not giving advice. Biz Owners Ed is not an advice. We're mentors that just give life experiences in the business world. And we can take that in the spiritual world and in the financial world and even in the physical world. But the biggest picture is the entrepreneur business world.
And you've been on the board for several years now, and I asked Wayne just before the show, I said, okay, what's your favorite success story? And he smiled and he says, it would have to be my son.
Yes, and he was in the this is an 11-year-old foundation, and he was in I think the second class that was going on. And it is a 10-week class that we do one time a year. We handpick through applications that are done online. We handpick 12 students that will qualify to get a seat in the class of 12. Now, we may have, in the 2 years I've been involved, we've had 200 people in the gallery hearing the same speakers. A lot of them will fly in to speak and then fly out. And they fly in on their private jets.
Wow.
And then fly back. But all of the board members and all the mentors and all the speakers, there's roughly 40 of us all together. I think there's 7 on the board, and then the rest of them are entrepreneurs from pretty much locally, but from around the country that have been very, very successful in every kind of field you can imagine. And every one of us so enjoy giving back to the entrepreneur world. And it's.
So was it night and day, watching your son grow from before Biz Owners Ed to after?
Absolutely, yeah, because there are 2 big things that he brought out of Biz Owners Ed that brought to us, because he went through this, I think it was in 12, and he came out of it with 2 things that were instrumental in changing our company that he brought to Patsy and I at that time. We were still involved in the company at that time, but he brought us Culture Index, which is, Jim Collins is, getting the right people on the right seats on the bus. So that started it. And once that started it, that's when everything switched with the baby boomers really not liking where we were going. I mean, it was a different culture. They felt that coming, and I got that. A lot of them even asked me, are you really going to let your children do this? Yeah, we're really going to, because you can't just give them the authority you can't give them the responsibility without the authority.
Yes.
So we're giving them both. So Culture Index was the very first thing we did, and then EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating Systems, a Gino Wickman institution, if you will, came in and just totally restructured everything that we do in a company. You're just taking business back to the basics.
Yes.
Which we were okay, but Chad was like, being okay and being good is not really wonderful. Let's be great, and let's try to take that great to majestic. And that's what they've done.
Well, and I applaud you for listening, because there are many, many CEOs who could send their son off to take a course and say, yeah, that's all fine and good, but we're not doing that. But you're open-minded, and you just instantly embraced what your son was saying?
Well, Patsy and I realized that the smartest thing, because this is the only credit we can take for our success today, is we were wise enough to get out of the new incoming young leaders' way. Step aside. Because if we kept our fingers in it and we kept control and we kept the authority with them having the responsibility, it was going to go nowhere. Because that's what we saw from first to second.
Wow.
And it was going to crater. So we knew, and that's really the only thing we can take credit for, is the fact we had the wisdom to step aside and let these young bucks, just let them run.
Yes.
And both of them have just taken off, and they're both wired. My son is wired just like me. Patsy says that my son is me on steroids. And if you can imagine that, well, he's 6'7", so he's a big kid, he's got a big personality. And my daughter is wired just like her mother with finance and numbers, and she gets all of that. So it was a natural fit once they both decided to join us. And that's a whole nother story, is how we got to that point, because we didn't see that coming. When they came to us, we had no exit strategy.
No kidding.
No, we had none, and that is very dangerous, which I find in most entrepreneurs' worlds, whether it's a founder or even the second generation leader, they don't begin with the end in mind.
Yes.
We hadn't begun with the end in mind. And that's something I learned through Biz Owners Ed, and you should always do that in business. Start your company or even if you're in the midst of it with generational transfer of leadership, start it with the end in mind, and we had none. So our children coming into the business, it was a dream we never dreamt and a prayer we never prayed, and they just showed up. The story, it's such a God story. When if you had time to hear it, it's amazing how it came to pass.
Well, I have time.
Oh, okay.
This is my show with my time.
Okay.
And so how did it
Well,
come to
it's
pass?
okay. We had two rules as they were growing up. Now, our family split from first to second generation transfer of leadership. It was ugly. There was nothing fun about it. There were lawsuits. It was because a lot of the leadership transfer was assumed, which is a big mistake. Now, these are my words and my perspective.
Yeah.
I think if you were to, everybody sits in it, they could have different perspectives, but mine was, it was just all assumed. There was nothing planned. That's who's going to take over. Well, that's not how it happened, and it just got really ugly, Jeff. So our children, they've never told me this, but I really feel like they weren't interested in the business because they lived through 8 years of hell for us. They saw what it did to their grandparents. They saw what it did to us. And I just don't think they really liked the idea of being in a family business, quite frankly. So we had two rules. We wanted them to try college. Patsy and I couldn't stand education. Today I appreciate it, but I was a horrible student. She drugged me through high school. She helped me graduate, and then she made me go to college. I went from one semester to junior college here in Dallas, and I said, I can't do this, hon. I do not like this. So I figured I could sell stuff, and that's how I made a living. So we wanted them to go to college, and then after college, whether they graduated or not, we wanted them to chase your own passion, whatever that passion is, and we want you to do that for at least 3 years. And they both did that. My son did something for 7 years, took a startup with 3 fraternity brothers, and gosh, they were doing this right out of college. And I think they took it in 7 years to about $30 million with 10 locations.
Wow.
Yeah. And then one day he calls us up and says, I want to meet you in Dallas. He was in Oklahoma City where they opened a couple stores. And my son never uses the word, I need to meet with you and Mom. He wants to hang out. He wants to come chill.
Yeah.
So he said, I want to meet with you, Mom. And I was concerned because he'd just been married a couple of years. But when he met with us, he said, I want to cash out of this company and I want to come back to Dallas. Have you got something in the company that I can do? I'm thinking, yeah, my job. And you can probably do it a whole lot better than I could ever dream of doing. So he left that meeting. He said, it'll be about 90 days before I can get everything cleared up. You can't tell Amy, that's his sister, because Amy's sister is a fraternity brother of all 4 of these guys. So we kept it quiet. We didn't say a word to anybody. I knew our team would be really wanted to hear this, but we kept it really quiet, Jeff, because he asked us to. Well, maybe is 90 or so days later, our daughter comes to our house and she says, Stephen, that's her husband, has taken a job with Deloitte in Houston. He's going to get his MBA at the University of, and we're going to be moving to Houston. She was a school teacher for 4 years, so she lived up to that deal. And she said, I'm going to be moving back to that. I'm going to be moving to Houston. Do you guys have anything in the company that I can do? We had an office there. We were like, that evening we wept because that was an exit strategy we did not see coming. So they came in, we came up with, kind of an unwritten plan, but an understanding of what we were going to do and how long it was going to take for them to get there. So Patsy started training my daughter in the finance end. And Chad he really kind of did it on his own, more or less. He went to every office, he worked in every department, just did everything he could possibly do before he came back and he said, okay, after Biz Owner's Ed, he became ready to take over the seat. And they both have just worked so well together, which that's rare. And I think because they're gifted differently, like my wife and I, people will say, oh, guys, you've worked with your wife for 43 years. Isn't that like the perfect storm for a divorce? That can be, but we have this Jesus thing going on, so that helped us through that. But we just work together, primarily because she's gifted in one way, I'm gifted in another way, and we just didn't. We made big decisions together, but I didn't play in her sandbox, and she didn't play in my sandbox.
Okay, so we only have a couple minutes left, Wayne. We really should have allowed an hour for this show.
I'm telling you, you get me going with this, and I could go crazy.
Okay, so in the final couple minutes, what words of wisdom do you want to give to the young entrepreneur who's watching this?
Well, as I said just a moment ago, if you're just doing a startup, first begin with the end in mind. Don't discount that fact, because that is so important to begin with the end in mind. And work on your culture from the beginning, because culture is easier to create in a brand new company than it is to create a culture in one at a time, a 43-year-old company. It's tough to shift cultures in that environment. It's really, really hard. So those would be two things I would say. Begin with the end in mind and take culture very, very seriously, because that's what will drive your company to success, I believe.
Outstanding. What an amazing guest. We're going to have you back.
Anytime.
We're going to end with both websites. We're going to start with regal-plastics.com for his for-profit business, and then the nonprofit, again, is bizownersed.org. Thanks for coming on the show.
You bet. Good to be here. Thank you.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.